All right, here is a Reed 105R. So it's one of the newer versions, but I just wanted to go over some of the stuff that makes Reed's exceptional vices even now, even though this is an old Reed. So you can see this thing's been well used. I've cleaned it up a little bit. I got some more to do. I saw another guy do a teardown on one of these. And I think this has suffered the same fate. Somebody was striking arcs off of this thing, and there's all kinds of little bubbles on it and stuff. But that's a different thing. This one is the non-swiveling version, and one of the things I really like are these 4-bolt pads. See how that, and I'll give you a little. Oh, sorry. I like how they sit, and it's just a rugged design. Traditionally, a lot of vices, they only use 3 bolts, one back here and then 2 out here. But I just like this pad. And if you're really going to beat on a vice, I know, and that's a separate thing, Reed makes a nice rugged swivel-based design, but I like them just bolted to the pad when you're going to really hammer on stuff. So one of the first thing we'll go over is how, if you look at this vise, let's see if I got it focused in here well. I'm going to open it, and now I'm stopping right here, and I'm going to start to close it. And you can see from stopping forward motion to actual backward motion, there is not even an 16th of a turn. And that small amount of backlash is by design. That's not an accident. These collars that the Reeds have tighten up, and then you can lock them into position with this screw. And as it wears, you can loosen the screw and spin this collar in here more to reduce backlash as it ages. So that's a pretty neat design. And we'll take a closer look at that. But I'll take this thing out. But that's the first thing that really makes Reed a good design vice, is that there's basically zero backlash. And if you can see, I've got an angle so you can see in here good, but this collar spins out. I'll pull it. All right. And sometimes you got to tap it, but this thing is pretty worn, so you actually don't have to. I can back it out just using the lead screw, so we can take a look at the design. But this is, so these, it looks like it's broken, but that's on purpose. These are split on purpose because it's the only way to get them around this. And then once it goes in the hole, it's captured like that, and these pieces thread in, and that's how you get that nice and tight there to prevent any backlash. And in this hole, the screw that I took out will come in, and it'll lock into this, like once you get it as tight as you want without restricting movement of the lead screw. Then you screw this in, you feel a divot, and you lock it in. This thing is pretty well worn, unfortunately, but that's the design. And so next thing is, I'll take the lead screw out. And that's a nice healthy thick lead screw, maybe just under 4 threads per inch. But with the lead screw out, we can take this out. All right. So that's actually pretty typical with these older vices. In my experience, I didn't clean this up enough. Usually there's something back here that's gotten hit that catches. Maybe it's this rounded edge here. I don't know. When I clean it up, I'll make sure that that doesn't happen again. But before we go on to the next thing, the oiling holes are also something that Reed does that I don't think too many other vise manufacturers do, where you can put oil in without having to pull the vise apart like we just did. So that's nice when you have that option. So the next thing that advances the Reed vices is the lead screw, the vice nut. So you see how that vice nut is in there? That doesn't move at all. And one of the things, if you ever look at like Fireball vices that he talks about with vices, is that as you pull the lead screw through, when you start to tension, this is going to want to pull forward, and you have a non-linear pull because the lead screw starts to bend, and it starts to, instead of being straight, it starts to pull forward, and you have a twist on it as well as your straight pull. So this piece here, there's a screw, and I don't know if you can see that really well, but I'll try to bring it right up. This screw tightens up against this so that there is no slop whatsoever. And that's a great design, which again is also adjustable with aging. So you see, we got a good view of that. Now I did have to hit this with some stuff to get it loose because the screw was pretty tight, but that's a great design. And then this is captured in here, so this comes out slick. But that's the piece. This is another thing that makes Reed great right here. And then going back to that lead screw and the slop, two things. One, this does not look cast. This looks like it's forged steel. The length of this is, I don't know what that is. It's 3.5 inches, which for a 5-inch vise is longer than most vices. So the more thread engagement you have, the less likely you are to either strip anything or have any breakage. So that's a nice long thread engagement. And you see how this is actually machined. These surfaces are machined so that they're very exact. And if you look inside here, this was also machined. So when this slides in, again, going back to that slop, there's already almost no slop here because of that design, which is ideal. The tighter that fit is, the less movement that's going to have when there's stress on it, and the longer it's going to last. So that vice nut and the forged construction and the machine surfaces are better than most vices. I'm not sure of what other vices there are out there that actually use machine surfaces besides the Reed. The Wilton's construction is different, but I think they use machine surfaces, and the construction of the vise lends to the straight line pull, but the cylinder is not as strong as this rectangular design. So this dynamic jaw where you have that cylinder is a weaker point than this design. And this pin helps make up for the fact that it's not a cylinder and it doesn't have that straight line pull. This gets you as close as you can. All right, and you see it pushing that right as far forward as it'll go. And as that tightens, it's pushing it right up so that you have full contact with the mating surfaces. So again, zero slop. So that's a great design. So yeah, that's the design part of these vises. And I am going to clean this thing up a little bit. I'm going to try to get this weld spatter off. Maybe I'll use a flap disc or something, and I don't want to damage the letters at all. So, but I'll clean up around here, and I'll clean up around here, and then I'll find whatever's causing this thing to catch as it goes through so that it can travel in and out smoothly. And I guess the other thing I'll do, and you see guys paint these, I use the vises. So I don't really like painting. And plus with these old vises, a lot of times if you see something painted, it could be covering up welds and stuff. So I like, if somebody else wants to paint it, that's up to them. That's their thing. But I use, it's like, I think it's Bow Shield. Let's see. I've been using this. I think there's all kinds of stuff that's along the same idea, but you get it as clean as you can. You get all the rust off, and then you coat it with that, and you just have this kind of raw metal look, which I like because I like the steel, and it's going to get used. And if you get that stuff taken off, you just put a little more on, and you're good to go. So wanted to share that though. So there it is. That's a 105. It's it's a decent sized vise. Boy, I'd love to get one of those, the 9-inch reeds, monsters. But I just wanted to share that. Like I said, hope that was informative and useful if anyone's interested in having a reed vise. A better idea why you want to have a reed vise. You can still find them out there. I think I got this thing for $50, so I was pretty happy with that. And I'll clean it up, and this will be a real good vise. You know what? I did want to say one other thing. I guess if there was any change that I would make on this, maybe add a grommet so this doesn't slide through and smash your fingers would be good. And sometimes if I'm not doing heavy work and I just want to spin it, I like to pin the vise here. So if I keep this vise, I'll actually cut a hole in here and I'll thread it, and I'll make it so that I could put a screw in there. And then same as these screws, just take a screwdriver and tighten that in to pin this in the middle so I can spin it quickly without it sliding and smashing my fingers or sliding in general. So just an idea throw out there. And I actually have, again, if anyone's looked at the Fireball, I'll bring you over here, vise. I like a lot of the stuff that he's done with his vises. So I made a vise that kind of incorporates some of those ideas with the hardtail design. This is completely encased. I don't have the machining ability, so I have some side to side slop on this. But the basic idea is there, and this is all welded and forged pieces. There's no cast anything except for the sintered jaws there, which I think are Wilton jaws. And what I do want to do is I got this old Prentice vise, and I got these mating surfaces, which are meant for grab and pipe, which is basically, it's this jaw material, but I want to mount them inside this thing. But maybe I'll do another video on the design of this vise, because I do like the design of it. And I did put this one on a swivel base. Had an extra Yoast swivel base, so that mounts right on a Yoast base.